Alright guys, so I went from drawdown to $2,300 payout. In this video, I'll be showing you guys how. But first, I want to talk to you guys about I had a $578 profit. AquaFunded ended up taking this trade from me, and I ended up taking a $1,000 loss. But I didn't know that they took this trade from me until like a couple days after. But then I was looking at my P&L and I'm like, why am I down? And then I realized that they took this trade from me and I took a $1,000 loss, and I would never have increased my risk if it wasn't for me taking these two winners in a row. So it put me in drawdown. I had to get my mind right over the weekend, and that's when I came and got these two winners. But I'm going to be explaining to you guys about that later in the video. For right now, I do want to show you guys the rule that I broke for AquaFunded. This is the rule that I broke, apparently. It says, yes, we allow news trading. However, we do not allow news trading on funded accounts. For trades executed on your funded account, please refrain from opening/closing trades 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after red folder high-impact news events. Any profits earned during this time will be subjected to removal without any account violations. So I didn't get any account violations, but I did lose the money that I profited, which kind of hindered my trading P&L. So let me just break this down with you guys. All right, guys, so this is a trade I took, and before I say anything, I want to say the week that I took these trades, I was just grinding in and out. I ended up falling into a complication with like Rise and trying to get my payout, so I stopped trading for like a good week and a half, and I just started trading this week, so you guys will be getting new videos. But anyways, you can see I have my pre-session high and I have a pre-session lows already marked up. We see we have a demand zone right here, which is my supply, and I just left my markings how they were, which is a supply or a demand zone. And what we can see is this 5-minute trend line break out of it. Once price came to this level, it hit, because you might say, why didn't you take a trade at this time? It wasn't my trading hours. Out of session, out of mind. Why did price came right here at 9:30? Price never went above this candle at 9:30. So I didn't take this candle setup either. It was an invalid setup. Price came down here. Price gave us a small candle, and I was really looking for this. I was hoping price would go above. As soon as it went above, I took my entry. And we're here. This is where I made a mistake, I guess. But once again, I followed my rules. So I don't even really look at news, because my strategy doesn't usually news comes out and it'll just push price in the direction I'm already the technicals are already aligning up with. So what you can see right here is price did exactly that. And I didn't really pay attention to the news, but I guess this is the 10 o'clock candle that they were talking about. And then 5 minutes after, the candle ended up pushing and hitting my TP, which is the highs. So you can see it wasn't no foul play, but I'm saying it's their rules. So after that, we moved on. And at this time, I didn't even know that they ended up taking the money from my account. So I'm still trading regularly. So I'm going to show you guys that right now. Once again, pre-session highs marked up, pre-session lows marked up. What do we get? 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock, we get bounce at the low, and we get a push. That push gives us a bounce off this level, pulling back, acting as a support and resistance level. Once it pulls back, it hits the level, hits this level, and it pulls back to this demand zone. Once again, the same thing we're looking for. Price goes above it, we take this entry, we hold it to the highs, and look, even if you might say, why'd you hold it to the wicks? I could have. I usually hold it to the body, but even if you held it to the wicks, you would have still got your money. Let's move on to the next trade, golds. And remember, guys, this is just pre-session highs and lows and looking for bounces off of them. Either breaking retest or inside the level. If it's bouncing, and then gives you like a little push and then pull back. And then we're looking for supply and demand zones to be created, because it gives us that confirmation that price wants to actually go up in the direction and that orders are being filled for then us to actually go and take that trade. So this was gold. I ended up coming in and just price hit my level, same thing, and it smacked down. Simple as that. We took a loss, but what you can see is this was a valid loss. Price actually wanted to reverse. This is a trend play. Price goes up, goes down, goes up. Price goes up, goes down. Like right here, price was ranging, never closed below. But this play, when price broke, it ended up pulling back, and then it ended up continuing in the direction that it wanted to go in. So you guys can see it kind of looks like a double right here, and the top right here, double top, and just the pullback to the top, kind of. And this is just from the 5 minute. If I go to higher time frames, you'll be able to see it beautifully. But you can see price did break and it ended up coming down to these lows. So this is a valid stop out. And this day was Thursday, so Friday was the next day. I don't think I took any trades on Friday. So that allowed me to get the weekend to come in and think, okay, let me restart. Because I ended up losing the $500 that you guys can see on the side of the screen over here. And I had 800, but I just lost 1,000. So I was technically in drawdown. So I didn't really profit anything for this week, even though I should have been up technically when you're going by the rules of a profitable trader and just consistency and following your rules. But by the profit rules, I'm in drawdown. So let's move on to the next trade. So this was the next trade. I ended up going for a 1 to 2. Price came down, hit this level. Once again, our pre-session highs and lows. This is a higher time frame level, so it might ask why didn't price come down to this pre-session high and lows? And just like the other trade, it was a higher time frame level too, which is where it gives me it allows me to basically play it aggressively off the. You guys can see this breakout right here. Price broke out on the higher time frame, and on the higher time frame, it's pulling back. Simple as that. When price pulls back, we're looking for the break and then the retest on the higher time frame, but then we go to the lower time frame and look for a candlestick setup. What we can see here is price gave us a white candlestick at this level, and it was around the opening. This is a very common tendency for price to always give us a move around 9:30 to 11. That's why I only trade an hour and a half. You guys can see price came at 9:30, set up this candle. I did get in kind of late. That's why you can see it kind of looks like a big stop. I could have gotten sooner, but I did come late. I wasn't expecting price to move at 9:30. I'm not gonna lie. Usually it'd be like 10 minutes after, like 9:40, but it ended up moving. So I got in, jumped in, and I just made sure I held for a 1 or 2 minimum. I could have held to the highs right here, could have held to this pre-session high, or I could have held to the supply and demand zone. At the end of the day, these are our targets where we can pretty much range whatever in here. So that's what I wanted. That's good. That allowed me to start the week off strong. And this was on a Monday. So let's move on to the next trade. Our next trade's on US 30. And you guys can see I have complications. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have pretty much been done just off the first week. But then they took the money and I took that loser. And it kind of like, it just put me in a bad spot because I should have been plus 500, which is just plus 1% on the account. But then I ended up being like, well, I was break even. I wasn't in drawdown. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I wasn't in drawdown like that, but I was in like $20 drawdown. So I was kind of really just break even. But to me, that's still very serious, specifically because the drawdown limits that we have, like the max drawdown, and what I'm trying to do with the account, I'll pretty much get the account in profit, and then I'm gonna look to up the risk a little bit. And if I'm upping the risk and then they're taking money, I'm not realizing it until the next day or so. It's kind of like it could put me in a bad position. So I was definitely lucky to be able to take a loser and come in strong for that week. I'm not gonna act like it's like trading is not luck and risk combined together, because it definitely is. I could have took a loser and another loser and they took winners, but that would put me in a pretty sticky situation. And that's just based off the fact that they took my money before. So I wouldn't have any money to leverage when I did up the risk. But if you guys can see, pre-session highs and lows marked up, pre-session high marked up, pre-session low marked up. Price push strong around 8 o'clock, the same type of price action. Around 8 o'clock, price always pushing, usually because of news. You can see it's 8:30 right here. This 8:30 candle, so definitely probably was news. I don't have to look at the news to know that. And price pulled right back. What do we get? A demand zone out of this push, out of these pre-session highs and lows breaks. And then we get that retest. Once we get the retest, what are we looking for? A bullish candle. I would talk to you guys about this trap setup right here. You guys can see price never went below this black candle. It made a low, and then it couldn't make another low. But I don't really use those right now. If I were to like show somebody, I definitely would teach them about the trap setups in case they want to implement those in their trading and see how it works. But I'm usually looking for a candle that's in the direction of the momentum or the trend that I want to go with, which is this bullish candle. So once it went above, we took our entry and then we held it to the high. I hold it to the body, but once again, if you held it to the wicks, you would have still got your money. I hold it to the body. And on this trade, I got a 1.5, which I'm okay with because it's my breakout setups. My breakout setups are different than my trend setups. My trend setups are usually higher time frame pullbacks, like a deep pullback. So basically like this same play, but on the higher time frame. So this is the 1 hour to the 4 hour chart. This is a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of pips because if I'm going down to the 5 minute right here on the 1 minute chart right now, this is the 5 minute chart. If this was the 1 minute, it'll be a lot of candles right here, a lot of candles. And that's what I'm basically doing on the 5 minute with the trim plays, as you can see on my last trade. So that's really it. You can see this allowed us to profit 1,700. And then this trade got us to 1,200. Very beautiful, very easy, nice 2-0. Came in right off the bat, stayed strong, and mentally I was there. But other than that, I wish you guys the best.